Hey folks, so it's been a little while since I've done a product review of any sort, and I was switching frames. I'm going to be kind of in between bike frames as far as race bikes, and it's taken the cranks off, and thought this would be a good time to do a product review on this. It's a Quarq. Originally started life out as a Quarq Red version from 2012, and I got this crank at the very end of 2012, and since then it's been on at least 4 different bikes, I think, maybe more, but somewhere thereabouts, 4 different bikes in different configurations, and I'll get into a little bit more of that here in just a bit. But I would say the actual power meter portion of the Quarq system, which is essentially just this spider, it's got at least a solid at least 20,000 miles of me riding and such on it, and thought I'd go ahead and give do a little product review, give you my opinion of this piece of equipment, and for anybody possibly contemplating buying possibly one of these or maybe something similar, or there's tons of different power meter options out there, but I'll go ahead and give you my 2 cents on this one. For starters, I actually purchased this new. I actually bought it myself. It wasn't given to me. I didn't quite pay full retail. Working in the bike industry, I got kind of the insider's deal on it. But even by today's standards, you can buy the new Riken for substantially less than what I actually originally paid for this. So anyway, let's look at it a little bit closer. Okay, so this one, it's the current configuration right now as it is on a force crank set, force rings, and it's a GXP spindle setup there, where this thing actually originally began life as a BB30 crank assembly. But anyway, basically, it's pretty simple actually to switch them out. There's 3 bolts here that and a little spline that the actual spider just sits onto there. So if you remove those, there's usually a little bit of Loctite or some other substance, that kind of locking compound that holds them on. So typically, once you take the 3 bolts out, you may just have to carefully work it just a little bit. Normally, that'll just come right off of there. According to Sram, I've asked if this is something that's doable, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend you doing it yourself, but of course I did. And as far as the calibration numbers and things, it never really affected anything. But your results may vary, and I would highly recommend to send it in to Quarq or SRAM or whatever, and if you were interested in doing something like that. But that's just one nice feature of this, is that it is something that is doable there. So as far as this particular style here, it's got a little the CR2032 battery. It's easy to replace. Just if you ever need to replace that, usually I'd say generally on I was replacing them probably about twice per year. And you can see the little LED there once the battery is engaged. Typically, once you wake the unit up, you'll see the light blink there. A couple times. I know there's some different. I think 2 times is that it's functioning correctly and everything, or when it's synced up with your head unit. If you backpedal it 4 or 5 times, with you're out in a ride, to offset the reset the 0 or offset the calibration there, you'll see that blinked. Different firmwares that this one's been updated several times, and initially you would there's a line here where you can line it up with a little magnet that you would have to attach to the frame, or underneath the bottom bracket. Well, as it is now, this thing has an accelerometer built into it, so you don't need the magnet. if you don't want it, I've left mine off, but you know, if you, I think it may be slightly more accurate with the magnet as far as your cadence. So that's kind of up to you, but you definitely do not need the magnet anymore. It's, you know, for all intents and purposes, you can just bolt this thing on, you know, a compatible bottom bracket, and you're good to go, basically. And, you know, essentially that's it. There's really no moving parts or, you know, anything. It's all pretty enclosed other than the battery cover. You know, I've had this thing, you know, I don't purposely go out and ride it in the rain, but I've definitely more than a handful of times been caught out in some pretty serious rain showers. You know, got caught out in one race where it snowed and was icing on us the whole time. And yeah, so you know, that's it's definitely passed the test of time as far as that goes. Okay, so when it comes to just things dealing with electronics, you know, that's something that can be a very frustrating, you know, just a very frustrating thing to deal with when they don't work. You know, anything that's mechanical, you know, typically I can usually figure that out, whether it's something that's not, you know, it's unable to be repaired, or maybe it can be repaired, you know, something maybe in the shifters, or, you know, usually you can identify any kind of mechanical problem. But electrical, you know, like there's really no way to get into this and see why it's not working. I mean, you can do, you know, you can hook up your A&T stick to your computer and, you know, it can give you different feedback and things like that, but, you know, that doesn't really tell you how you're going to fix it. You know, normally it's something you send in, but, you know, sometimes it can be frustrating mid-ride when, you know, your computer or something electronic-wise doesn't work, you know, and there's no rhyme or reason why. But, you know, basically the gist of my review on this is this is something that, you know, it's basically just always worked. It's very simple. I've never had to send it in for repair. It's just always, you know, fire up my Garmin, you know, spin it around a couple times to wake it up. You know, it picks it up, and, you know, accuracy wise, I've had several different other power meters in relation to this one. And, you know, some known accurate power meters, and this one always, it's never, you know, I've never had 4 power meters on my bike, you know, DC Rainmaker style or anything like that, so I couldn't tell you, oh, well, it's, you know, it's reading 5% off here, 5% lower high. It's always, I've kind of just trusted the general numbers that I've gotten from it, and they've seemed always, you know, just going off of my perceived effort, they seem pretty accurate. But, you know, again, I'm not to say they could be, you know, they could have been 5% high or low, you know, I don't really know. They felt pretty accurate to me, but the bottom line was, you know, I pedaled the bike, looked at my computer, and it always, there's no zero showing up. It's always a, you know, a number that to me felt pretty accurate, I guess was probably the best way to describe it. So yeah, that's, you know, the gist of this one. And, you know, working in a bike shop, you know, in the service department, there's a couple brands I would say, you know, that I've kind of noticed that we've had to do very little sending back to the manufacturers or things like that for repair work. And, you know, a couple that are known to me to be really reliable are the PowerTap products and the Quarqs. You know, I know the first generation Quarqs, they were a little susceptible to getting water, you know, I think in the battery cap or something, but as far as this generation, and then, you know, even the third generation now, I've seen one that we've had to send back in to the, you know, have service done on, and, you know, the one was a pretty new unit, so it was obviously covered under warranty. So yeah, that's the basic gist of this one. You know, it's you know, in my mind, it's, you know, going on 3 years with it, and I'm probably gonna, you know, more than likely put it on my next bike as well. So yeah, I would definitely have to give this you know, this Quarq power meter a definite thumbs up as far as just reliability. And so the thing that I like most about it is it's one of those things that you bolt it on and it just plain works. And it's very simple. You don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. in order to get it started. You know, that's the beauty of this. You just put it on, works, nothing complicated. You know, doesn't get much easier as far as power meters go. As far as adjustment to temperature changes, you know, I know the current version, they've got the 10K temperature compensation that supposedly it will affect the temperature changes more so than this one. You know, I never had a huge issue with it. You know, there's plenty of times when the bike's been inside and I'm going out and it's 20, 30 degrees or whatever, and typically what I'll do in that situation is I'll take the bike out, and so I'm just about ready to leave, getting dressed, you know, maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes I would just put my bike outside and you know, and then fire it up from there so the temperatures had a chance to adjust, or you know, things like that. That's typically what I'll do. Or you know, you take off riding and it's 45 degrees and 4 hours later it's warmed up to 70. You know, usually I'll just, you know, once it starts to warm up, I can kind of feel some changes. You know, I'm coasting, I'll just do a quick back pedal and, you know, reset it to 0 there. So that's basically what I've done. I've never really had a problem with it. I know that these can be upgraded to the current 10K temperature compensation. As far as from what I've read, it says, you know, that Quarq will do it for a nominal fee. I've asked my rep a couple times what that nominal fee is. You know, I guess I could call and find out, but I honestly, I'm not sure what it is. You know, maybe something I'm going to look into in the future, but I know all the new ones are already going to have that feature built in, so very little frustration overall. The only one time I had a little bit of frustration with it was one of the earlier firmware builds. It was cutting out when I would ride it inside. I think I was getting some Wi-Fi interference or something like that, but you know, the latest firmware updates, this thing it's been rock solid. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, that's going to wrap this one up on this part, and got more product reviews and other things coming up soon. So yeah, if you find it interesting, want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you'll get all the latest videos and they will show up right there on your computer screen. Yeah, anyways, that's it, and thanks for watching.